YouTubers, welcome back. Next project, wheel bearings, inner and outer, both sides. We've already started this side, got it going. But we're gonna film some of the other side so you can kind of see how to do your wheel bearings, inner and outer. This one happened to turn out to be pretty good shape. We've already done the driver's side, inner and outer wheel bearings. We're going to do the passenger side now and kind of walk out through it. For those of you that's never changed a wheel bearing, this is a process. After you get it jacked up, make sure you put jack stands under there. Take the tire off and you're going to be looking at something like this. So basically we're taking off the caliper, 2 3/8 bolts in the back. He's already loosened them, broken free. That'll release your calipers and your brakes from your rotor. Now you just straighten up your cotter key, pull it out, pull off your nut. Usually they won't be finger loose like this, but we've already kind of got a few steps going here. Usually I have to get a crescent wrench, kind of loosen that up a little bit, but it shouldn't be tight. And then that will allow your rotor to come right off the spindle. We're going to show you a little trick how to remove the inner bearing. You got an inner and an outer bearing. You're looking at the outer bearing right now. Pull off your washer, yank your bearing out, and you can just get ready to pop the inner bearing out. We'll show you a little trick here we use.
I'll show it to them first.
So what we like to do is put the nut back on it, and then we can pop off the inner bearing. Just kind of give it a good shove. And there it is. Now the inner bearing's out from the inside of the rotor. Put your nut back off. Now you can check out your bearings inner,
And
your seal, and then we can get all the old grease and grime off of the spindle, clean it up, put some new fresh grease on. We'll show y'all how to put new inner and outer bearings in, along with the race and seal. Here's where we've already taken the rotor off. We're going to show you how to knock out these race seals and put in some new bearings, inner and outer.
Let's see if we can get a picture of that. That's sitting on that edge.
I got it.
All right.
Just work your way around. Try to get on that little lip. Knock this old one out. Outer race in. There you go. You see it pop out. Now you can do the same thing to the other side and knock this outside seal off or race off. You always want to change these out whenever you do a wheel bearing.
Pretty well.
Because bearings and races seat together and kind of don't want to put in a new seal and leave that portion out. It won't be very good. But there it is. It's out now. We can clean that all out inside there. real good, and then we'll put in the new ones. We'll show you how to do that and slap some new grease on it and be ready to roll. We've already pulled out the old bearings and race. We've cleaned out the grease inside. We installed some new grease, and now we're inserting the inner race seal. And we use something just level across it so we can get a good bite all the way around, nice and even. And we don't have a bigger socket, so we're having to wobble this one into the place until it's seated. Tapping it in there.
That's that sound.
And you can see the bearings, or the race, is not damaged really. And it's sitting all the way down in there now, nice and flush and even. Now we can pack our, he already packed this one bearing, but we're going to show you how to pack the front bearing. You pack it nice with grease. It's not very hard, a little dirty, but not very hard. Same principle. You just want to go all the way across, make sure you got something level all the way across it so you can beat it down flat. We're using some soft aluminum, but wood will work. Anything you can get to work. There you go. All down nice flat. And that's the race, the bearing, and the seal. And same principle. Let's get something flat across it. Tap her home. And like I said, this car's been sitting here since 2004. So I was pretty sure it was going to need new oil bearings. They're all dried out. Just like that.
Alright, let's go that way.
Now we're going to show you how to pack
Actually, I'll pack this bearing down.
this outer bearing. It's a greasy job. Some people like to dip it down there. I just dip it in my hand, put it in my forehand, and just start packing it in. You want to make sure you got plenty of grease down inside. So you just kind of rub it around to your hands and it'll force its way inside the bearing. And you just go round and round. We've got the inner and outer wheel bearings changed on this and the seal. We cleaned the spindle. We haven't greased it yet, but we will. You want to make sure you check all this for damage, any kind of grooves. Everything looks pretty good, feels pretty good, even though it looks like you can see a little bearing rub there. And there's nothing hard about this. Hardest part's jacking it up, getting it all situated and leveled where you need it in a good workspace. Keep it clean. As far as pulling the bearings, super simple. Pulling the rotor, simple. But now we'll have new inner and outer wheel bearings that'll last for years. And again, once we start using the brakes haven't been used since 2004, so your rotors are looking kind of bad right now. But they're in actually really good shape. Once we start using them, all that'll grind off and be smoothed out. But a car that's been sitting this long, you know it's going to need anything that has gaskets, grease. The gaskets are going to be dried up, your grease is going to be dried up, dirty from years of gunk and grime on them, so you're going to want to go through all the main parts. Same with your engine. Like if a carburetor's been sitting for years, you're going to want to change it, rebuild it. Gaskets inside are hardened up. The tolerances aren't there anymore. Now, to test an old bearing, you can take, with your tire on, you can move it back and forth, like up and down, in and out like this, and just see if there's wobble. And that'll kind of give you a general idea of your bearings and what kind of shape they're in. You spin the tires. If you hear a bunch of grinding, sometimes that can be your brake pad sticking, or it can be your wheel bearing, means it's dried out. So they're always worth checking on. Critical part of the car, you want your wheel bearings in nice shape, nice and greased. And now you've seen us do the passenger side. We did it in steps, but it really 30 to 45 minute job. And that's if you take your time and just work at a nice, even, slow pace. Like I said, nothing very hard with it, but now you've got the wheel bearings, inner and outer, both sides done. There's a grease cap. And they just slip right on, folks. We've seen people take a sledgehammer to try to beat them off. They just tap right off. You can take a screwdriver, smallest one you can, and just pry around the edges and they'll just pop right off. Cap same way, putting it back on, you just tap it. It'll go right back in its home. And be seated nice and flat. You don't have to beat on them with a sledgehammer or crush them in. We've seen them crushed. We've seen holes drilled in them. It's just mind-boggling what some people will do. But there it is. Now we can put the tire back on it and we can get back to the next steps on this 79 Camaro. We've got inner, outer tire, or inner and outer wheel bearings done on both sides. We've done the doors, taken them off, reworked the hinges, reworked new bushings and pins in both doors. Then we started on the timing cover, putting a new timing chain on. We're going to slap a new water pump on. We'll bring you back for that on the next video. So that's the end of this update with new wheel bearings, inner and outer. So y'all stay tuned for the future videos coming up, and thank you for your time.